All right, so I'm live with a series I'm going to do, and I'm going to contribute to it every couple of weeks or so. And it's going to be on how to create data science projects. Like from the beginning, you have a question, you want to, figure out an answer, but using data. I use data science quite a bit to make decisions in my life. And so what I'm going to do is uh, focus on a topic and then go from there. So I would say the first thing I'm going to do is just share my screen and get into a presentation mode here. And let's go ahead and do this. Perfect. And so the question that I've actually been very interested in doing some data science work on is the concept of life expectancy in the U.S. And so I'm going to create a new repo in GitHub here. And if I go to this, we can do. Um, let's start a template based on Python. Probably would be a good one to work with. And then I'm gonna call this one data science projects here and say this is a data science projects repo where I can share stuff about data science. Here we go. And now what I can do is just clean up a couple things here, like inside of this repo. One of the things I probably, yeah, I guess, no, this is good. I think is a good dev container. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of my code spaces here because I have too many running. And we'll go to code spaces. Where's code spaces? Go to code spaces, manage code spaces. There we go. Okay, we have too many. Well, let me get to them. They changed the way code spaces are managed here. There we go. So I'm going to just delete like an old one. Here we go. Let's just delete that one. All right, so now I can go back here and go to data science projects, set up pre-build real quick. This will let it launch in the future quicker. Set up a pre-build. Okay, and now I'll launch a multi-core instance here. So new with options. There we go. All right, so the idea here is that I'm going to start with different kinds of topics each week. And so as this thing's launching, I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to start with the main question that I wanted to solve. And I'm going to try to solve one each week. So data science projects. So we'll just call this one life expectancy USA. So this is very interesting in that there's something going on in the USA, and we want to look at data sets that dive into this in a little bit more detail. So what I typically do when I start a project is I like to do ingest, EDA, modeling, and then conclusion, right? So these are the core steps in a data science project. So in the ingestion phase here, I'm going to need to get some data, and I also probably want to start with a notebook as well to help me out. So first up, let's find life expectancy by let's say by country. And let's see if we can find a CSV file as well. So Google can help. Start with, what's this? Let's look at Kaggle. Do we have a good one here? What is the data set here? This is data. This looks like 2000. what does it go up to? It goes up to, looks like it's kind of old. I don't know if I want something newer than this. Let's see if we can find something that is current. This looks pretty good. Let's see. World Bank. There we go. Up to 2019. Yeah, it's probably good enough. And let's download this CSV file here. And it's in a zip format. And so we'll have to potentially clean this up a little bit first. And so what I can do is basically put a link to this data set, and we'll say World Bank, right? So we'll put our sources here, World Bank, and then I'm going to also create a structure inside of here, like where I can upload these files, but I wanted to wait until this thing launches for that. So what I could do is basically just wait for a second until this loads, because I'm gonna have to clean up this data set here a little bit, and we can see here most recent year. Yeah, it looks like pretty new data actually. So we can see here that Afghanistan is 65, Albania, uh, and one of the ones I'm kind of curious about is, so look at this, Cuba, which is a communist island, is actually just smoking the United States here, which is the richest country in the world. And so what's going on? That, I think that's a very, there we go. So we see Cuba's got a higher life expectancy than the US. So why? Right. And I think it's a great question. Even the Virgin Islands have a higher life expectancy than the US. And if we look at some of these other countries here, there's some countries that, like, let's look at 84 here. Who is this? This is China, right? China's got a much higher life expectancy than the US, Finland, France. Why is this, right? So that's kind of the idea here, is to play around with that. So let's go ahead and do a git pull here, and let's make a directory here for data. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to throw some of these files inside of here. Let's just drop these. So I can just drop things inside, which is pretty cool. So this looks pretty good. Let's see. We got metadata indicator. So this one looks pretty good here. Like a nice data set to play around with. So we'll probably have to clean this up a little bit though. So I'm going to have to get rid of that. And so now that I got that thing, let's say the next step would be to create a notebook uh, in this repo. So I can just say, like, just make projects, I guess. So we'll make one called projects, and then inside of projects, let's call this life. Let's see, expectancy, the IPYMB. There we go. And if we look at this here, we can just open this up, and we should be able to import this into our IPython notebook right here. So we can say, I guess there's a couple different options. One is that I could use Colab Notebook, or I could use this one. So I'm going to start with just playing around with it here by saying, maybe renaming this, because this is this name is awful. Let's just call this life expectancy, LE. Make it really short name. And then you can get in here and say, import pandas as PD. Kernel died. What does that mean? So if this thing's having a problem, I don't know what that means. The kernel died. View log. Interpreter. Well, the kernel failed due to a missing module. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, and let's see if I can fix this problem inside of here. So we got extensions. Yeah, see, I have Jupyter Notebook renders. And if we look at the project requirements, oh, maybe I need to install Jupyter. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's just install data science libraries. So we can probably say Jupyter, pandas. See, those are probably matplotlib, matplotlib. Let's do those. Let's just do install. See if that fixes the problem. Okay. And if we go here and we just say run all again, what happens? There we go. So it just didn't have the libraries loaded, and now we fixed it. So that was easy actually to fix that. And then we can just make a data frame, and we can say data frame equals pd dot read CSV, and we would want to tell it to go up a directory to data and tell it to read from 2020. There you go. And then we can say df.head. Now, what's nice about this environment is I've got Copilot, and I'm assuming it's going to be smart. No such directory. So that's a great question, though, is where is... Well, let's comment this out for a second and find out where this... Well, you know what I can do? Why make this hard? I'm going to just throw it into the same directory. I don't want to work hard. I want to work smart. And in fact, it makes a lot more sense to put it in the same directory. And we'll just do this now. There we go. So now we got a data set here where we can take a look at things, and we see that it looks pretty clean actually, but we can inspect it a little bit. So this is where I like to put in markdown headers. So I would actually put this thing above here. And now I always forget about this because I'm more familiar with Colab. But basically, if I want to move things around, it's kind of annoying. How do I move things around? I need to change cell. If I do markdown up here, I can always delete this cell and then do it that way. Okay, so we'll just call this one ingest. This is my ingest phase. There we go. And then I'll make another code cell here, and we'll just say df.na. df.na. Let's see if we have any. Data frame has an attribute. I always forget this with pandas. Well, we can do a describe first. Let's do the descriptive statistics. So it goes from 1980 until 2021, which is pretty good actually. I think we want to we do want to check to see if there's any missing values. So I would just Google this pandas NA. You do again. You do pandas show NA. Their values. Let's try that. And then if we say df1, I guess this would be the columns that have a missing value. Is that what that? You can use it to see if any of them are true. And we want to do isn't a. That's what I was looking for. We just want to go. I don't want to get too complicated. I just want to go df isn't a. There you go. And I guess there are some that are missing. So we see that. We see the describe. And then let's do some EDA now. So I'm going to create a markdown cell. I'm going to say EDA. And one of the things that we can do is do some kind of visualization. And so we can do maybe Seaborn, Seaborn plot. And I think we will want to do like what is it, like a Seaborn facet grid, maybe. Let's try that, which is something like that. So we would want to say imports Seaborn as SNS, Seaborn as SNS, and then we want to do basically df, and then for the column would be the maybe country name. Country name. Try that. Country name. Let's try this. I'm not getting the visualization, which is a little bit weird. And I don't know if there's a problem with the visualization in this environment. So I can easily fix this though, because what I can do is just switch gears to Colab. So I'm going to try that. So I'm going to say get status, add, and say get add requirements, get add projects. We'll say adding book start. I'll just use Colab as my main book. And so what I can do is go to Colab here. The Duno works well. Data. We can just put the repo here like that into this particular notebook. There we go. How about that? Enter GitHub URL. And we can go to data science projects. Data science projects. Data science projects. That's the one I care about. That one. That's the one I want. There we go. So now we got Colab working. Then I'm going to connect to it. And then I'm going to change the runtime to be high RAM. And let's play around with this thing. Okay, so we got pandas. Now, this is going to cause a problem, which I fortunately have a fix for, because all I need to do now that I've got it checked in here is just go to this file and do this, say raw. And then we just tweak this notebook so that it works out of GitHub. There you go. Perfect. There we go. And now if we do describe, we see this, and then we look for missing values. And then, I don't know, maybe I screwed it up because I was in markdown cell. Maybe that's the problem. I guess I could try that. Let's see if was this markdown? Let's go to code here. Let's try it. Let's see if this actually works. Import Seaborn. Let's try that. Will this work? facet grid. Maybe it just was too much for it. That the facet grid is not going to work. So we can do, how about LM plot or something? Just something simple. Just do LM plot. And we'll just get rid of this. LM plot. Ooh. Seaborn. There we go. We got something. It didn't work. So I guess this environment does work. So I don't necessarily need Colab to be my driver here. But I do want to fix this plot. And I think what we want to do is plot different countries. And so let's see here. We want to plot, what would be a good one to do for lots of different countries. I mean, I guess I could just pick a few countries. That could be one way to do it. So if I go to SNS dot, see what other plots we got here. We have, let's just maybe subset this data frame and let's play around with it a little bit more. So if we said df, I want to grab, see if Copilot will help us, like grab sort all data by the country. See highest, lowest. Man, that's pretty cool. So did that work? Uh-oh. Key error, life expectancy. Oh, because what is the indicator? We want to do it by year. So we would say by, well, if we do this, what happens if we just do this? We just say 2020. Subset. Let's just look at the columns real quick. So we'll say df.columns. Yes, we got, so really what we care about, because if I'm looking, there's a lot of missing values in 2021. So let's maybe grab 2020. And so if we say columns, if we just say df, let's leave this here and let's do another one. And let's do df and grab the country name. And then let's grab the year 2020. Grab these two. Let's just try that. So that's good. We made some progress here. And then we want to say dot sort. There we go. Now we're talking. Now some of these are missing, which does suck. What happens if I go to 2019? Are they missing? Ooh. 2019. Maybe 2020 is fine. Let's start with 2020. 2020 here. And so we can see here that just in a preliminary basis that that in fact Hong Kong is one of the highest, Japan is one of the highest, China is one of the highest. Switzerland is one of the highest. And it's definitely pretty interesting. And so then if we want to just dig into this a little bit more, one of the things that we can do is get some descriptive statistics on this. So we could call this 2020 DF. That looks pretty good. Invalid test. Sort by. Invalid syntax. What am I screwing up here? Equals country name. That. I don't know what I was screwing up, but we'll call this DF22 2020. And now let's get some descriptive statistics on this. So we'll say, I guess we can move that into EDA now. So let's do a code block and say dot describe. So what we got here? Here we go. So we can see that the median life expectancy is for this data set. And I guess we could figure out how many countries there are. So we could do that. We could say df2022 dot, well, we see right there, there's 247 countries. And then if we look at, let's just pick a country like the United States. And we can even use Colab to help us, I think, or Copilot. We can say like, find countries similar to the US in life expectancy. How smart is this thing? Country name, that only gives me the United States. But we can play with this. So we know that. So what's crazy about this is that the standard deviation is 7, and so essentially the United States is really like I mean by definition a mediocre country in terms of life expectancy. And so when people talk about American exceptionalism, they are not talking about life expectancy. Look at this. We're basically like average, right? Depending on what metric we're using, but out of 247 countries, the fact that we're average here is nothing to be impressed about. But then if we were able to compare us to similar countries, and I guess I could grab that potentially. So if I went to here and I said get a list of G20 countries, right? G20 countries from the internet. From the internet. Okay, sure. There we go. Is this G20? Okay, so basically, now that we have the G20, we can say like, let's compare the life expectancy to our peer countries, right? Which I think is kind of a fun thing to compare against. And so we can say basically, let's subset this. So we can say subset data is in G20. And what do we got here? There we go. Now we have a cool data set. And now if we look at this, we actually are, now we're cooking, because what we can do is compare apples to apples here, and we can say dot describe, and boy, this is annoying. I'm going to get rid of this. If we look at the median values for G20, it's 77.2, and the United States is basically exactly in the middle of the G20 countries, according to this. And so we can see who is below us. We have places that are, maybe authoritarian regimes like Saudi Arabia, countries that have a lot of poverty, Mexico, India, South Africa. But then if we look at who's above us in the G20, the EU is dramatically higher in terms of life expectancy. United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, we see France, Italy, Australia, and Japan. So I think without even plotting it, I don't even need to. I can just look at this and say, there's something troubling going on. How is it that the richest country in the world is able to have mediocre life expectancy? And then if we look even at the data set visually, and we see like who's around us in terms of life expectancy. So if I go back here, and I think there is something that lets me visualize this. Let me load this, and we'll just call this CSV. Um, this one's got. Let's try that one. Highlight CSV. Sure. So let's go back to here. And can we see this? Not really. I think I need another extension to no edit. How about visual CSV visualize? CSV to Markdown table. Maybe that could work. Let's try that. Well, I'm not going to mess around with these extensions. I'm just going to look. I'm just going to go to actually GitHub, and we can just visualize it there. There we go. I got a table. So if I look at, well, that isn't exactly. It's a little bit trickier. Oh no, here we go. We can just do this. We can just look at life expectancy. Here we go. We can see it keeps rising, keeps rising, keeps rising. There we go. So we have 2020, but I can't see the US. So I have to do one more query here. And so what I can do is I can go back to this notebook, and what we can do is we can say show life, show 5 countries with life expectancy similar to the USA. See if how good Copilot is. Similar to the median value, because we know that the US is is the median. Let's try this. Let's look at 10. There we go. So we can look at more apples to apples. Now we could also, but we don't want to look at G20. We want to actually look at the entire. We want to look at the entire data frame. That's so fine. Show 5 countries with similar expectancy in 2020 as the median life expectancy. Let's see. Get rid of that. No one is G20. You want to do that. And we can do 10. No, we want to, I don't know if I can do that query. Well, we can just grab, and handle this a little bit, or mess it up a little bit and just do 50. And we can go here. Look, see, Cuba is higher than the US. It's pretty embarrassing, actually, um, considering that they do not have a lot of resources. Let's just do 55. There we go. So we see that we still haven't even gotten to the US. The US is at 77, but I mean, we can just stop with this for today, which is that the United Emirates is higher, Estonia is higher, Panama is higher, Albania is higher, Cuba is higher, Lebanon is higher, Maldives higher, Puerto Rico is higher. So there's something going on in this data set, and I'll explore it a little bit more in a couple weeks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this in, and we'll just say git status, git add projects, just adding initial data science project. There we go. But yeah, so feel free to fork this if you want to play around with it. This data set here, I'm going to keep working on it. Every couple weeks, I'll come back to this and play around with it. But I think this is one of the most fascinating data science problems for US people, at least. We need to figure out what's going on here. All right, see you in a bit.